If you bought a construction project in Punta Cana or the Dominican Republic in general, you might be dealing with some delays right now. And there are reasons for these delays we're going to talk about. But if you stick around, I'm also going to give you some practical advice that I've been given that I think is relevant. The delay reasons could be one of three: environmental permits, construction permits, or you have a scam on your hands. Let me talk about permits in general to start, and then I'm going to go deeper. When a developer launches a project here in DR, they have to get a set of permits. There's like 5 of them. I can't name all of them for you, but they start with one called ayuntamiento. Ayuntamiento. I think I'm saying that right. I'm going to screw that up as we go. It's a permit from City Hall. Then it goes eventually into environmental, and it ends with construction. The construction permit is the final permit you need before you can begin construction. And right now, environmental is the one that's really holding a lot of developers up. But here's why. Here's the deep story. Back in 2021-ish, the minister of the environmental department or whatever was shot, killed in his office by an acquaintance. Real tragedy. Very sad. Something out of a telenovela, but he was executed, and therefore his position was vacated, obviously. It took like almost a year, from what I understand, before they assigned a new person to that department. Meanwhile, all these applications being submitted are just stacking up. Now, the problem is the person that they assigned apparently was like an economist or something, didn't understand the system, didn't understand what they were doing, and for the duration of the time that they ran the department, didn't do much. So now you've got all the stacked up applications from the first guy who was killed and the gap in time before they assigned a new guy who ended up being incompetent, and therefore they had to remove him. And finally, I believe in early 2025, assign the current person as the minister of the environmental department. And that person apparently is very competent. They're a lawyer. They know what they're doing. But what they're saying is like, hey, we can't just issue permits. We got to do this by the book. We got to make sure we're looking at population density, our projects being built where we've designated them as green zones where they shouldn't be built. So from everybody I talk to that's reputable, high-level attorneys, different developers, the ones that are really good, they all say the same thing. The person is like trying to organize things, but man, they're heavily delayed. So when you're going into a project and you're talking to the developer and they're going to tell you, oh, we have the permits, they may be saying they have ayuntamiento, the first one. What you should ask is, do you have the environmental? If they do, that's a leg up. It's going to cut down delays severely. If they don't, we're going to talk about that. All right, so the second thing I said about delays that's causing it is the other permit, the last permit, which is the construction permit. And there's a really good reason for this. Everyone watching me right now is likely familiar with the jet set tragedy that happened. Boy, was it early this year? April of 2025? I think it was this year. It feels like forever ago, but not forever ago at the same time. So many people died. Awful, awful tragedy. Well, what that tragedy did was what many of us back then said it should, which is really hope that the government scrutinizes the quality of construction in the country. And to be clear, Jet Set, the building, had been around for a long time, but it had made modifications, it overburdened the roof, at least that's what we're seeing with these AC units and everything else. Took out poles and structural components, and eventually it collapsed. DR, rightfully so, including all of us, never want to see anything like that ever happen again. And believe me, it's on the minds of anybody going to any sort of group event now indoors, like, is this the next Jet Set? So again, not an excuse, but an explanation as to why construction permits are taking a little while longer than they used to in the past. And again, you need that one. It's the last in the chain of all of the permits that you need, but you need it in order to begin the process of construction. That's the reality. Now, the third possibility is that you're being scammed. And I did a deep dive on this. I did a ton of research. I talked to a lot of people, and we're talking like, again, top attorneys, embedded developers, some of the biggest names in the industry that I get access to. It's the beauty of this whole brand thing. People want to talk to me. Go figure. So I ask questions and I look for consistent themes. And then I go into the info and look at like the data, the real data that is available. And trust me, it's a little bit thin, but there's data out there. I looked at all projects over the last 10 years built in the Dominican Republic at a high level. I didn't look at every project, and there's a lot. The highest percentage of those projects that I could reasonably come up with that were legitimate scams was no more than 1%. Scams. A scam is, by definition, like somebody knowingly did something, took your money without any intent of ever building anything for you. No more than 1%. You can fight me on that. You're wrong. You're wrong. Now, what you might be lumping into the scam bucket is another bucket called breach of contract. Plenty of that. But again, breach of contract doesn't mean scam. Breach of contract doesn't mean projects not getting built. Timelines are missed. Grace periods, we're past that. And they're probably not even paying you back the 1% per month or whatever that they owe you past the grace period. And there's good reason for it. Again, that's breach of contract. That's workable. That doesn't mean the project doesn't get done. In fact, the projects do get done, even though there's breach of contract. So let's separate fact from fiction on this. But it drives me nuts. In fact, this is one of the things about the Dominican Republic that you have to understand. And if you're Dominican, you're gonna completely get it. Mountains here are made out of molehills in the matter of 4 to 6 seconds. Gossip becomes fact from tia to primo to you, just like that, in minutes or seconds. It's like this. Oh, I heard that project is a scam. Person A says to person B. Person B then goes out and says, that project is a scam and no one's getting their money back. That's it, done. That's the news cycle in the Dominican Republic. It goes from the first person hearing something to the second person co-signing it and stating it as fact and adding on another layer to it. And then maybe the third and the fourth person add another and another layer. And before you know it, everybody up there in the United States that's Dominican is hearing from everybody down here that everything's a scam. It truthfully drives me up a damn wall. It happens in my family. I'll give you an example. This is a great example. Let me see how I can do this without giving away the players. Okay, here we go. A relative of mine, an in-law, has been very successful, came from nothing and has had incredible success. Love the guy. He launched a new venture that was going through some initial turbulence, which new ventures do. And in order to launch that new venture, he had to kind of mortgage or take debt against the first venture. So we were at a family gathering and I could hear it. I could hear the hens, el buck, la buck. That's Spanish hens clucking, if you didn't get the L in the la. But I could pick up enough in Spanish, and I'm like, there's a gossip train. I could hear it. I could see like they were like spinning fire. You could see the smoke coming out. Like, oh, here it goes. Here comes the gossip. So like, kind of in the room, everyone's talking. They're all like, one-upping. Oh, and then this. You could feel it. You could feel it. I was kind of somewhat paying attention. We get in the car. We start driving home. My wife's explaining to me like, oh my God, everyone's concerned. He's taking on all this debt. It's not good. I'm worried. And I go, okay, let's pump the brakes here. Let's just talk through this a little bit. The guy we're worried about has launched several successful ventures and is the most successful member of the family, correct? My wife's like, yeah, okay. And all the hens, all of them, who do they go to when they're feeling a little pinch financially, or when they're feeling that they need advice, or, hey, we're coming to visit? Where do they stay? Whose house? Whose properties? Who do they go to? She's like, oh, yeah, him. Like, all right, let's consider the source here of all of these hens clucking of like, oh my God, They've never even tried to do something at his level. And they are the ones that we're gonna believe when they say what he's doing is a bad idea. So the dude that's proven to be successful in every venture he's taken on, who understands how to overcome the challenges, that's the guy we're concerned about. Not all the people creating this rumor mill, crapping all over the guy, not intentionally, but inevitably crapping all over the guy, because how they see the world is much smaller than how he sees the world. You know what it reminds me of? You guys remember when Elon pulled out the Cybertruck and he's like, it's indestructible, the glass is made out of, concrete or whatever. I don't know how his accent, but you guys get it. And he took like a hammer and he like barely tapped the window on the door and the glass broke in and he looked like an idiot in front of all those people. You guys remember that? I thought that was hilarious. Not because of the fact that it was a failure, but because there were people calling him a failure. Some dude sitting back on his couch eating Cheetos in his wife beater with his fat belly hanging out, who hasn't done crap, is going to the guy who created digitized payments with PayPal, only then to create the electric vehicle that became completely omnipresent in society and can go from 0 to 60 faster than a Porsche without an engine in it, then to launch rockets into space and have the boosters come back to Earth and just sort of sit like a dog. It was unbelievable to watch. That guy, because he broke a window, he has one design flaw in the 50th project he's launched that's been successful and world-changing. You're laughing at him? Sorry, fat Cheeto guy sitting on his couch. You sit there and point your finger and be all judgy while he goes out and changes the world. I don't like the way media is today. Let me buy Twitter. Do that with your Cheetos. What, are you gonna win that with some sort of sweepstakes on the back where you get to meet Chester Cheetah? It drives me insane. And I know there's people right now that are like, Elon, Trump, I equal them and my brain goes ickies. No, just Stop, people. Get out of your feels and please consider the source when this gossip train launches here in DR. So all of that was to say, we in the United States hear scam because everything's a scam. Well, did you hear about Navasco? Well, they're all like that. Navasco is the same as everything. No. Very few scams, lots of breach of contract. But breach of contract, those projects are still getting done. All right. So if we agree then that the environmental and the construction permits are the major cause of delays right now in construction, what are you gonna do? This is just my advice, my thoughts. I'm not an advisor, I'm not an expert, just sharing what I go through. I love that when people say like, oh, you think like you know it all. Like, no, I'm just sharing my experiences. So I do know all of my experiences. Yes, I'm a know-it-all with my experience, but you do you, figure it out for you. But here's the first thing. When you go to a project that you're going to look at, ask them about the permits. Now, they may show you that first one, ayuntamiento thing, that thing, whatever you say, ayuntamiento. I forgot. They may show you that and say, we got permits. But you being the educated buyer that you are, because you watch the gringo, you're going to say, can I see your environmental permits? And they're going to say, oh, we've applied for those, but we'll get those, no problem. And they will. Eventually, they likely will, but it's going to take a while. What about your construction permit? Now, if they don't have the environmental, they can't have the construction. They just can't. They have to have environmental before they can get construction. But still, you can ask about it. Just ask. Well, what about construction? Oh, we'll get that right away, right after the environmental. Sure. What I can tell you is those two permits, if they don't have them, you better bank on it being about 18 months before they get them, which means 18, maybe to 24 months before they can start construction. So when you walk into a project that's pre-construction in 2025, late 2025, early 2026, which is when you're probably watching this video, and they say this is the project that's going to be done by late 2027, you don't believe them. Now, I want to be super clear. It doesn't mean you don't buy the project. That might sound crazy, but let me explain that a little bit. If a project is being honest with you, they would say, hey, permits are going to take a while. This project won't be until 2029, 2030 before it's completed. But the problem is every other project in the area is saying 2027 to the uneducated buyer. So you're the educated buyer. I get it. Most aren't. They get excited. They say, ooh, it's so pretty. I love the way they drew it. I like the person across the table. They showed me this permit. It says ayuntamiento. They must be legit. It must be good. And they buy. 2027, yay, here I come, woo! So if I'm the project that becomes honest and says 2029, 2030, and every other project is telling the uneducated populace 2027, because they're afraid to be honest, because if they are, they're not gonna sell anything, then the 2029 project is gonna fall behind all of the other ones that are saying 2027. We'll figure it out later. Maybe environmental will get their act together. Maybe these permits will go faster. Let's just do this, let's cross our fingers. Or what they'll do, they went back to their buyers and they said, hey, look, we're delayed beyond what we originally thought. Your payment plan was this. Here's what we're gonna do. In exchange for waiving the payment to you that we said we would make, and to be clear on that, in the contract often it says, hey, it'll be done by December 2027, but we have until June 2028 to deliver it. If we don't by then, we owe you a 1% penalty per month back to you as the buyer until we deliver the project. That time has come and gone. A lot of properties, they'll go back and they'll renegotiate with you and say, hey, let's make this a win-win, which is great. It's awesome. It's nothing wrong with that. But this is technically breach of contract. So they say, rather than you paying me X amount, pay Y. Or tell you what, we're going to suspend payments for the next 6 months. You don't owe me anything, or something like that. So the developers today are seeing that that's working. So why would I say 2029 and be honest when I could say 2027 and figure it out later? I don't like it, but that's the reality. So when I say, hey, they told you they don't have environmental and therefore don't have construction, you now, from watching this and learning, not from me, but from all the people that I've learned from, and then I'm just the mouthpiece, like giving you this information. I'm the gossip train. I love it. Look at that. I'm in my own little, I'm making fact out of gossip. Now, these are facts. These are actual facts. I've talked to people that are in the industry that are giving me these facts. But you know, as the educated buyer, that it's going to be at least 2 years, at least 18 months, maybe 2 years before they get all their permits to even start construction. So when they say 2027, ain't no way. But you might say, look, I like this developer. I see what they are. I've done the research. I've talked to attorneys. They've built 10, 12, 15 projects in this country already. So I'm going to eye roll their 2027 knowing that it's going to be 2029. All you've done is reduced stress for yourself. So when it's not delivered, you're not out there saying to somebody, oh my God, they're delayed beyond what they said. Maybe another 6 months, they said. When they tell you in 2027, another 6 months, you're going to still be sitting back and chilling like, nah, that's not real. You just started. There's no way. Now, the second thing you're gonna do, really maybe even more the first thing that you're gonna do, is work with a great realtor. People, going direct to the developer can be okay if you're really, really tuned into the market. Look, I go with a developer called Boardwalk Developments, which is run by Cheryl Henderson, very well-known realtor in the area. But look, I have an advantage, guys. I'm on the ground. I'm here. I get to meet people. And then I got this content thing that draws people into my world, which is amazing. And then what I love doing, honestly, this is my favorite part, is I love coming to all of you with all of this content. But when I went with Boardwalk, what I learned about them and what they're doing was really interesting to me. So let me explain that, and I'll go back to the realtor point. Boardwalk fits some criteria for me. Number one is that they've done full cycle projects, meaning they've started and finished a project before. You can see it. It's called Maple Beach. The one that I'm invested in, Maple Suites, right next door, it's 70% done. I walked into a model unit. I did a video on it. I'll drop it below for you. Oh, and by the way, guys, listen, quick aside on Maple Suites, it's a really cool program through the Veterans Administration that guarantees $1,500 a month paid to you as an owner in Maple Suites, essentially renting the unit from you as a long-term renter, and then they turn around and provide your unit to veterans as they come down to visit and get treatment. So as the buyer or owner in Maple Suites, I'm excited about this. You get a guaranteed $1,500 a month. They pay utilities, you pay a few expenses, and you end up cash flowing between $1,000 and $1,100 a month. No effort, no management company, nothing. Honestly, guys, you should check it out. Maple Suites is already, like I said, 70% done, so you can see it. It's not like a pre-construction project. The permits are in hand. It's one of these, like, going to be done in a few months. There's a link down below for you to click on to get on the list to get contacted by the Boardwalk Developments team. But anyway, I'm all over the place right now. I figured I would just throw that out there so you guys are aware of it, because I think it's amazing. But anyway, Boardwalk has done full cycle projects. I know who the principal, who the lead developer is. They live locally. I love that. There's some developers that don't. In fact, I get realtors that reach out to me like, hey, can I be a referral source for you? I'm in Florida. And I always say, like, if you're not here, I'm not referring to you. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's just like criteria one is they're here. Criteria two is I use them. I can't always go with criteria two, but in most cases, any attorney I refer, two of the realtors I refer, the mortgage broker I refer, the insurance broker I refer, I use all of them. And Boardwalk, I use them as well. So full cycle project, lives locally, I could see them. And then third for me is like scar tissue. I want to see pain. And I could point to, and I'm not going to do it now, but I could point to where Cheryl and Boardwalk have gone through pain. They've had to overcome challenges. I like that. I want you to have failed because it shows me that you can persevere, that you can find ways around. The other thing that Boardwalk does that I think is really clever is early on, what they would do is, like most projects, like we got to sell units to fund the project. So as units are sold, that money creates the money to build the project, which is fine as long as you got a great sales team. And most developments do it that way. But what Boardwalk pivoted to was, hey, we're going to buy this land, we're going to market the project, but we're going to bring in equity partners to fund it. And as sales happen, we're taking that money and giving a return to the partner. So we're not under pressure to sell to get this built. We have the money to build it, and the sales then replenish the coffers and pay the partners. Brilliant. So that's what gives me confidence with Boardwalk. Doesn't have to give you. But the best way to get that confidence with whoever the developer is, the one who's going to tell you 2027, but you're going to say, nah, it's 2029 because I asked about the permits, and you're still going to buy it, even though they just lied to you, not intentionally, like they're just feeling like they had to tell you 2 years, otherwise nobody's going to buy it. Start with a realtor. Again, guys, I can refer you anybody you want. They're all down below. There's links for all of them. But a good realtor, you only need one. You don't need 7 realtors. If you have a good, vetted, professional realtor who knows the market and can see what's going on everywhere, that's all you need. Just click the link below and we'll refer you one. Start with them and they will tell you where to, where not to, who's reputable, who's not, who they trust, who they don't, and why. But again, ask the questions that I just talked about. If the realtor refers you to a developer, how long you been here? Have you done any full cycle projects? Any scar tissue? Whatever else it is that you think you need to know, ask those questions. Ask about the permits. See where they are. If you can show that you're not just a retail buyer, that you're an educated buyer, you're going to be treated much differently in a good way. So get a great realtor, add 2 years to whatever timeline people are telling you that the project's going to be done, and reduce your stress level. And then 3 is get a great lawyer. DR is a lawyer-driven society. It just is. There's lawyers on the seller side. There's lawyers on your side. You just need that relationship, somebody protecting you, reviewing the contract. Again, I got a couple I can refer you down below. Very reputable, and ones I've used personally. Refer you everybody. And just so you know, guys, too, like I refer you people, they're likely to pay me something for that. So heads up, there's financial incentive in you using one of those below. Don't use them. Just find good ones. Use great lawyers, great realtors, and find great developers. And hopefully these questions I'm giving you, to this day, as I sit here, it's the most armed I am with the questions that I would ask, and I'm just sharing that with you. As I learn more, I'll share more. There's one last thing I would ask of all of you, truly, and this is a request that I want to make of anybody who truly is a fan of what's going on in the Dominican Republic, who truly loves the country and its progress and what's happening. Root for all of these projects to go well. And here's a one-off interesting one that I think we all need to be pulling for to make sure it's successful. And that's Larimar. Larimar City is a massive project. I've done 2 videos so far on them. One scrutinizing the construction company called Klurp. And to be honest with you, I've scrutinized them even beyond that video and have only come back with, hey, they're legit. Reputable company. I'll link that video below so you have it. Down in the description, guys, is everything you need. But then I actually visited Larimar recently, the current project site, and went through it with one of the executives there. And same thing. I saw it, I felt it, I get it. I'm not an endorser of it one way or the other, but boy, am I pulling for it. Back in 2008, when Punta Cana went bankrupt, those that have been here, that are in the know, that have been around for market cycles here, were like, man, that just gutted trust in the Dominican real estate market for foreign investment. It was hard. It made it hard on the locals. It made it hard on everybody because there's so much work there. And if Larimar, for whatever reason, doesn't become what it's saying it's going to become, it would have a similar effect on the area. So we got to pull for it. Doesn't mean you have to invest there, but we should certainly not be calling it names or actively pulling against it, especially when, look, all the evidence to this date suggests that that's a legitimate, true operation. We'll see what their timeline is and all of that, but going back through the test, they have the environmental, they have the construction, they're rolling forward, they're permitted. Some people doubted they could be, including some reputable people, but the reputable people who look at it from a very business professional mindset, they're like, hey, I had my doubts, but they're overcoming them. And we've researched the company, Klurp, and yeah, it's a legitimate company. They can show projects they've completed in multiple countries. You got to pull for all of them. But in my mind, pull for Larimar, be a fan, be rooting for them, even if they're filling up your YouTube screen with ads. I know, that's why I got premium. Part of it's because of you, Larimar. Too many of your damn ads, but we got to pull for them. I don't like all projects. I'm actually becoming more and more Larimar's like, I'm becoming more and more a fan of that. But there's a lot of projects I'm not a fan of, but I'm rooting for all of them. So I would ask that you do that as well. So let me quick summarize, because I was kind of rambling on this one. You guys are on a ride with me to Santo Domingo, by the way, in case you couldn't figure that out, if you didn't see behind me. Get a great realtor. Get a great lawyer. Add 2 years to the contract, whatever it is they tell you. If they tell you it's going to be done in 2 years, you just got to know that the permits themselves, if they don't have them, environmental and construction, are right now, as we record this, going to take 18 to 24 months to get. So they can't even start construction till then. So add 2 years to the back end if they tell you it's within 2 years that it's going to be done, and pull for it all. Be a fan of DR truly. Don't be one of these trolls who are like,
yeah, that's not going to work. Oh, that's going to go down. The bubble's going to burst.
Stop. Stop. If you love it, be a fan of it. Pull for it. Pray for it. The opportunities here are awesome, but we got to stop pulling against it. If you want to see that Larimar video, I'll put it up here so that you can. I'll see you on the next one.